Welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. This is the final video, hopefully, of Let's Talk Martial Arts. I have 30 minutes before a class, so that means I have no time. Because me and technology, we are not the best of friends, and trying to get everything straight and set before school actually happens is probably like my main focus. So I'm gonna try not to make this video exceptionally long. Please forgive the background noise. I have to add this comment in. Oh shit. Okay. So let's do this. Let's chat martial arts really quickly. Alright. So as I tell you in the other two videos of what's useful and what's not useful and why I was making the videos about Krav Maga and Sistema and how I never heard of them, etc., etc. So I do my best when I make these videos to point you guys in the direction of which I'm coming from. Because there is a thing about being a martial artist, being a fighter, and being an entertainer. I fail at being an entertainer, clearly. You know, because I've been at this for 20 years and I haven't caught a break. But in the 90s, when I was starting out in life, because I graduated high school in 1993, and I wanted to become a cop, and those things didn't really fall out, not because I have a criminal record, but because of my sisters and their dating choices of people who did illegal paraphernalia and my mom's ability to defend those bastards, and they wouldn't stop having babies. Alright, so when the UFC, Pride, Rec, and other things came into existence, while all of you current fighters were probably in diapers, I sent messages out to them in ISK, and none of them had a weight class under 130 pounds. I didn't get to 130 pounds until I got into the Army. And now I'm back at my high school weight because the doctor said I'm not allowed to go over 125 pounds. So I'm at 120. 125 will be my lifetime goal until after my hip replacement. And if they say I can go back up to 130, then I will. But if they don't, then I will keep it at 125 pounds, which is next to nothing for a man. Alright, but in my defense, I'm also only 5'3.5" tall, if you want to count the half inch, because the Army said we don't do half inches, so you're 5'3". So there's that. And I don't have a problem being 5'3". Lots of people are 5'3", especially Wolverine, the real Wolverine. In the 616, he's 5'3". Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just had to throw that in. In martial arts, you will understand how a lot of fighting principles work. Alright, gravity, body mechanics, and a lot of other non-essential things, conventional and standard weapons. I gave you a video about knives and what to do and what not to do and things like that, and like Ramsey Dewey and like Rob from McDojo Life, shout out guys, they pretty much said just give the person your stuff. I completely concur, because if you're by yourself, you have a better chance of fighting, even though you should probably still give the people your shit, versus when you have somebody with you and they'll be like, but you're a martial artist. Yeah, they got a gun. Here's reality. I don't want to get shot. No one wants to get shot. People who have been shot will tell you that they didn't want to get shot. And, you know, you have a 50-50 chance of surviving a gunshot, depending on where the fuck you are shot. You know, if you get hit in an artery, it's a good chance that you'll either lose that limb or lose your life. Depends on how quickly you bleed out. Now, an adrenaline's pumping, so you're going to bleed. Because when your adrenaline's pumping, your flow of blood is like, it's like a constant thing. Because you're not always on adrenaline. All right, let's just face that fact. You are not. If you're not like training, or a professional athlete, or you're not in an MMA school where the training is intense. If you're not in a BJJ school where the training is intense, if you're not in the Army where the training is intense, your adrenaline is not going to be pumping like it would be if you're running, or if you're in a situation where you're scared, or if you're in a situation where you're about to fight and adrenaline goes into overdrive. You know, you're not in that every day. So you will be in that when you're in a scared situation, and it's a good possible chance that you will fucking bleed out. Which is why they try to tell you to stay calm, and why they try to tell you don't drink because it increases the blood flow, etc., etc. I am not a doctor. This is just shit that I was told, so let's get that out of the way. However, I do live with 2 career nurses because my mom and my big sister were career nurses. So I know enough about certain medical aspects that I would never follow in their footsteps. I don't like blood, so, and it's better to give than receive. When it comes to pain, I'm not trying to be on the receiving end of an ass whooping. It's just that simple. No one really wants to be on the receiving end of an ass whooping, but it can and does happen. It's just a matter of your timing, your training, your skills. There's a lot of factors in a fight that people aren't taking into consideration when they're teaching people martial arts. Because if you go to a school and your martial art teacher promises you that you will never lose a fight, run. Straight up, run. Because there's 2 types of losses in a fight, alright? There's a loss where you beat up a little bit and you get up and you can walk away. And there's the other loss where you're just going to get killed, period. So, here's how this works. You're fighting in the streets, you win a street fight. You're fighting in the streets again, you lose a street fight. Is it your training, or was the other guy just more prepared? Is it your skills, or the other guy just was more prepared? If the other guy has more fighting experience, the other guy do this shit bare knuckle professionally for a fucking living, and you're just some Joe Blow off the street who just stumbled to be in the right place at the wrong time. However, that does not mean you can't beat the professional on the street. There's 2 sides to everything, because there's always the possibility that even though this guy has been fighting for an entire lifetime and knows his way around a fight, that you can still whoop his ass. It's possible. It's very possible. It could have been an off day. And that means he's going to go back and start training a little bit harder, which we should always be training harder to begin with. But at the same time, never underestimate your enemy and never overestimate your ability. Because first, knowing what you can do is very important. Not knowing what your opponent can do is very important. Not giving a damn, that's a touchy road. Alright, because I'll be honest, I know what I'm capable of. And I'll be honest, when the fight begins, not only do I not know what that person is capable of, I also don't give a damn. But I also am a pretty good read at reading people's mobility and fighting moves. But I also know what I can take as for taking a beating. So the debate has always come up with me and other people, is it better to be a stronger fighter or a tougher fighter? And I'm small, so upper body, not happening. But I know that I can take a beating as good as I can give one. So for me, it's better to be tougher than stronger. There's only so much strength that you're going to get in your body. Let's keep that shit real. I'm not a power lifter. I'm not a professional athlete. I do not lift weights all the time. When I was in the Army, we didn't lift weights. Some of the guys did, but I didn't. I did push-ups. I did push-ups. And push-ups was the original weights. And the thing about push-ups is push-ups does build your cardio. Weight builds your strength, but it doesn't really do much for your stamina. Because there are a lot of weightlifters, you do 3 or 4 drop sets in your 20s, it's nothing. But there are a lot of weightlifters that can still do that in their 40s and their 50s, where some of us cannot. I am not a weightlifter. I had a very bad experience, which stopped me from lifting weights, period. Really, really bad. My cousin Russ Dog can testify to that shit. Let's just say The Pit and the Pendulum is a good book and a great movie, and I stopped lifting weights because of it. Wasn't the movie. So I'll give you the long and short. We were lifting weights, and my cousin's been lifting weights since he was like 6. So that's why he's so jacked now at like 36. So he's like constantly just pushing weights. And I lift weights with him a little while, and for a while I could keep up. And then he got bigger than me. And I genetically just could not get bigger. So that kind of defeated me a little bit. But I could still lift weights. I still had the strength, but I just wasn't getting cut. So I decided that if I'm going to lift weights, it'll be to tone and only to tone. Because some people just can't get big. I took protein stuff. All that shit did was make me have diarrhea. So that didn't help me at all. And I don't know, my body just would not accept it, or I wasn't taking it right. 2 shakes for breakfast and a full meal at dinner. Yeah, that shit wasn't working. Because after that first shake, I'm on the toilet. After the second shake, I'm on the toilet. I spent more time on the toilet after taking these protein shakes than anything else. I took so many craps that my asshole felt like I sat on a fucking match. Anyway, so we're lifting weights. He goes in, he drops his set. I go in, I drop my set. He goes in, he drops his set. But what he didn't tell me was that the bar was so homemade that it was breaking in the middle, which explains why the other part was there. And I'm not a weightlifter. There's no tape on the bar. I'm just pushing. So when we finally get to the last set, because we both did like 4 or 5 sets apiece, we're like kids, man. I'm like 16. He's like maybe 12, 13. He's way younger. And he's just passing them out. So he put on weights, and every time we go up a weight. He's like, I bet you can't keep up. And my dumb ass and my pride, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. I probably should have quit while I was ahead. So I'm pumping. The bar snaps in the middle. Like my hand. Like, actually, not the middle. Like on both sides of my hands, actually. So I'm like this. And the weights go back and forth. One's over my face and one's over my chest. And they're just going back and forth. And I have nowhere to go. And my uncle that I don't speak to is my cousin's father. He's sleeping on the couch because he just got high. So he's like laid the fuck out. He just got off from work, smoked his weed, got high, went to sleep. He's behind me. I'm screaming like a bitch in heat, hollering and screaming, and nobody's moving. Finally, my cousin R-Dog comes in. He's like, and he goes, because the shit's funny at the second. I was like, dude, this shit is about to break on my face and my chest. You might want to come get this shit off of me. So he comes and gets the weights, and he puts it on the bar just long enough for me to roll off, and then we put the bar on the floor, which the bar then snaps, so now we have to get a new weight bar, which we eventually go out and do. After that, I didn't lift any more weights. So, weightlifting training can help some people. It didn't help me. And, like I said, if I'm going to give you guys honesty, 99.9, I learned really quickly that weightlifting was not my thing. Which goes back to when Wreck and Pride and Havoc, I think it was, and ISK came out. They specifically said, you got to get your weight up. And I specifically wrote them in the letter that I sent them before email got really big, because they had an email, and in their email they had a real address. So I literally hand wrote them letters and sent it to them. UFC was just coming out, but Wreck and Pride were already there, and ISK. And each one of them sent me an email back, and I didn't have an email, so then they sent me a letter back, and it said, you have to get your weight up. Our lightest weight is 130, no matter what sport it was. And I spent years trying to gain weight. Years, and it just wasn't happening. So when I joined the Army, I'm 121. When I get deep into the Army, by my 5th month, I'm like 130, 135. This is my biggest weight. And depression ate all that shit up. But prior to that, there was no help whatsoever. So that being said, back down to 120, and they do have my weight class, but again, hip replacement. There's no way in hell no one's going to let me compete. No one. I'm pretty sure of that. Because they don't want to have to pay that bill, and I don't want to get hurt, that's for sure. But I mean, I'm not afraid to fight. I'll roll. I can give me a job as a coach. I'll roll. I'll teach them what I know. But, as far as competing, that shit's not going to happen. Those days are long gone. I'm 47. I know how to fight. I know what I'm doing, But at the same time, if you've never been given a shot, then you're never going to get the shot unless you make the shot. That's what you guys are for here on Instagram and YouTube, is so that I can actually have a shot at having my martial art career, or my dreams at least be seen. Now the thing is, as a martial artist, your next step after martial arts is generally to go into the movies. Well, I've always wanted to make movies. I've been trying to make movies for the last 20 years. I just haven't had the opportunity, haven't been seen, and the one shot that wasn't from my own production stuff, you know, it went belly up as I was talking to my neighbor yesterday about that shit because of a girl. The two men that was producing the film, one of them was the boyfriend, the other one wasn't, and it was just one big CF after another, and that ruined that. And then, you know, every time I've gone on casting calls, it's you're not a bad-looking man, Mr. Williams, but you're not looking for it. Because there's a list, and like it or not, there's a list. And I'm not cutting my hair. Not again. As I've cut my hair twice and still didn't get a roll. So that's not an option. But anyway, moving on. The whole thing with this video, in a nutshell, is that, you know, when it comes down to martial arts, you will learn more by learning different martial arts and taking a few MMA classes because they integrate other martial arts into MMA versus if I sit there and honestly tell you, just go do Wing Chun. For the rest of your life, just go do Wing Chun. You will come against maybe one or two people in your lifetime that actually practice original and traditional Wing Chun. One or two. I don't practice original or traditional. My shit's a mixture of everything I have, but I do know a little Wing Chun. And I do know a little Wushu and a little Gung Fu. And so a couple of animal styles. But if I told you to just base yourself in one style, I would be robbing you of all your potential for other styles. And as I said in other videos, you know, I took other martial arts so that I could beat that style. And by beat that style, literally mean beat the style, but beat the martial artist that's doing that style. So if I come up against a Taekwondo ace, I pretty much know how to combat the bastard. If I come up against a Aikido master or a Judo master, because I've taken Aikido, because I've taken Judo, because I've taken Kempo, I will be able to give them a run for their money. Now, if I can't beat them, I will damn sure be able to make them remember that I was one of the ones that you probably shouldn't have fucked with. You know? And then, you know, I talk about disarming in my other video, and the thing about that was when I was taking Taekwondo master, and this was teaching us how to disarm stuff. I was never disarmed, but I disarmed a lot. And the thing with that is, you know, disarming practice, the training, the simulation is real, but the knife is rubber. So a lot of people don't really take that shit seriously. And you should probably take all training seriously just for the fact that it's training, and training is a teaching tool. Now, before I go, when I found out that I didn't need a martial art belt to teach, I've been pretty mad at myself for like the last 10 years. It's like, but I was always told, first degree black belt to teach in any school, fifth degree black belt to open up your own school in the state of Virginia. And then I recently found out that all that was bullshit. And it's like, well, I could have been in business. You know, I could have been in business. And I'm mad as hell about that because that's an opportunity that's gone. You know, it's gone. I don't no longer have the desire to really want to teach anybody. I mean, if they want to learn something that is useful and they ask me, then I don't have a problem teaching that. But as far as making money for that shit, you know, I really didn't want to teach to make money. I wanted to teach for the love of teaching, and I wanted to make movies to open up a kung fu school where I could teach for free, make a movie, pay my bills, go back to teaching my kids. Make another movie, pay my bills, go back to teaching my kids. Make another movie, go back to paying my kids. That was the plan. You know, make kung fu movies, teach kung fu for free. Because my first martial art lessons of karate for the first 3 years were free. Then the guy pretty much lost everything. He didn't teach anymore. And, you know, it was free. So to give back, I wanted to make kung fu movies so that I could teach kung fu for free. We see how well that worked out for me. Because I'm not teaching anybody anything and I'm not making any kung fu movies. Yeah. But also, to quote Jun Wee, nobody bothers me. That was me winking. Just in case y'all missed it. So class is about to start in like 10 minutes. So for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to try to give you some stuff minus the background noise that you are hearing. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to hide my anger. Yes, I am trying to hide my anger very well. But whenever I smile, it's because I'm fixing to go fuck somebody up. Anyway, no matter how small PB fighters are. Anyway, the whole thing with martial arts is that, you know, you must learn as many martial arts as possible. And the reason why I say that is because there is no one solid martial art that's better than the other. it's all about that martial artist's skills, and then their ability to adapt. If you can adapt very well in a fight, then you're ready to go. Well, if you can't adapt very well in a fight, there's going to be some problems. Now, when it comes down to things like, all right, we're making a movie, and in the movie, I'm supposed to lose the first fight, win the second fight, and the third fight's a draw. In the final fight, if I'm the hero, I'm supposed to win, or at least lead off into the sequel, in the other part. It just depends on how the movie script goes. Now, the thing with making movies in actual combat, all right, movie combat is actual combat. It's just dumbed down so that no one gets hurt, and a lot of camera tricks so that you don't know if someone's getting hit or not. And if they are going to do close-ups, it'll be like a slow motion, and they'll fix it in post-production or pre-production, or before it hits the damn theater, they'll fix it. So, and camera tricks are awesome. So, it's really just a matter of fusing your scenes, which I plan on going to film today if everything goes well. That being said, I want to end this so that I can go use the bathroom, get stuff I need for class in the place that it needs to be. But yeah, if you're going to make a movie or if you're going to learn martial arts, most importantly, if you're going to make a movie, safety is a factor. If you're going to learn martial arts, safety is definitely a factor. So when you're doing martial arts, you need to know what's useful, what's not useful, what can get you over the hump. 1. Study, practice. Learn as many different martial arts as you possibly can. Go to different schools, do the free trials. If they have something that's interesting, take the class. Shell out the cash. Do that. If you have something that not so strong at, I don't want to sound like the biggest hypocrite on the planet, but I'm going to sound like the biggest hypocrite on the planet. So let's just say today is the day that I am proclaiming my hypocriteness. All right, I suck at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. 1,000% I suck at it. I can do it. I can roll with it. Guaranteed loss. Guaranteed. I'm not going to dig too much into a deep groove of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I find it that it's not useless to those who are practicing it. I have no need for it, so I'm not going to say it's useless, but I am going to say I have no need for it because here's how this works. I grew up 80s, 90s, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came out in the mid-90s. It was unique and new at the time, and it caters to one style of me being on my back and you being on your belly on top of me, or me being on my belly on top of you, and we're establishing dominance, and there's so many different ways that this shit can go wrong. Alright? When I was in the Army learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I want to finish this because I have like 5 minutes for class. When I was in the Army learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there were a lot of things that I felt completely, utterly wrong with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it might be because I'm more of a street fighter than a martial artist when it comes down to the bottom line, but when I'm on you side mount, I'm sorry. If I'm not in the arm par position to break your arm or make you tap, I'm dropping elbows across your face from side mount, which means your arm is between my legs and I'm holding your other arm. So you're basically pent on your shoulders and I'm dropping. I'm not punching you, although that's an option. I'm dropping forearms and elbows and I'm going across your head. That's not technically legal for a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu outside of the cage. In the cage, that shit's okay. But like if you're in class and shit like that, it's not going to happen. Because in the Army, they wouldn't let us do that. And also, I hit my partner in the nuts so many times. I know that it's not something that he's probably happy of, but the guy was like 6'9". It's like, I'm 5'3". I'm not going to let this guy sit on me and whoop my ass. Because that's pretty much what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was teaching me, that I'm going to get my ass kicked. Now, learning from that, I learned 2 things. 1, I'm going to up my stand-up game. If I have a good stand-up game, you're not going to get me down. But in the event that you get me down, I do have the Army Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training to be able to stay calm and lock myself into a position where you can be defenseless against me. Now, if you watch the video with my nephew and I, who's 14, and he's all over top of me and everything, and I was teaching him Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was teaching him what I learned in the Army, except for I taught him some shit that I already knew from the streets, which I wasn't allowed to use in the Army, like elbowing in the femur and shit like that. Well, that was just perfect body positioning. I will make a video about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu again someday. So until then, this is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. Be seeing you.